Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 horror movies that I highly recommend. And with that, let's get to the list. Frankenstein is a 2025 gothic sci-fi horror movie, produced, written, and directed by Guillermo del Toro, and is based on Mary Shelley's 1818 novel of the same name. It stars Jacob Elordi, Oscar Isaac, and Mia Goth. A brilliant, yet egotistical scientist brings a creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and his tragic creation.
Not something. Someone.
Okay, this movie's hard to even talk about because it's hard to get my mind around all the things I want to say about it. It absolutely blew me away. It moved me in a way that a piece of art hasn't in a long time. This is one of those movies, though, that I think, unfortunately, is going to fall on quite a few deaf ears because I think a lot of people are going to go into this, especially because it drops on Netflix on the 7th, and there isn't much in the way of trailers or promotions or anything really going around. So people are going to go into this expecting a horror movie, expecting more along the lines of what we've seen in the past when it comes to Frankenstein. But this is much more a love letter to the art of filmmaking in general. There's an element of this that feels like from the golden era of horror, from the style of acting, the props, the design of it overall. It has this real elegant gothic style about it that isn't realistic. It's not really the way things looked and were exactly, but more of a stylistic choice. And it just gives this movie such a grand, amazing feel. Now, that's not to say there isn't scary elements or gross elements or disturbing things. There is definitely all of that. But for a lot of this, it is much more of this drama, this epic story of loss, of regret, of all these different heavy issues that both the creature and Frankenstein himself are battling with and going through in this. But it really is one of the most beautiful movies I've seen in a long time. Not only aesthetically, but the story of it and the way that it's presented, the acting style, the performances. Jacob Elordi especially, I was really hesitant when I heard he was cast for this. Even though I know he's a great actor, I just didn't see how you could take this guy and turn him into such a brute, such a creature. But they do an incredible job with this. He's very different. This is definitely a one-of-a-kind Frankenstein. He doesn't really feel like any other creatures we've had in the past. Like, he's definitely his own thing. But he's still very monstrous and grotesque in some ways, but also childlike, and you just want to hug him. There's a lot of times in this movie where you want to protect him, and so you're so drawn into that. And all the characters in this, they're all well written, well done. But I think as long as you go into this expecting a gothic, dark fantasy thriller with sci-fi elements and all that, but not a straight up horror movie or not a straight up sci-fi horror movie, but more of that, I think you'll probably really enjoy it. It's just an expectations kind of thing. Don't go into this expecting Hellboy. Don't go into this expecting anything. Just kind of go in this as much as you possibly can with an open mind and just enjoy it for what it is. And at the time you guys will be seeing this, I think it's going to be already pulled out of theaters. But if you get a chance to still see it in theaters, if it's available for you to see, definitely see it in a theater because it really is an amazing theatrical experience. But I still think you'll enjoy it at home. Just try to watch it on the best TV or screen you have available. Make sure the room is dark. Really kind of give this movie that theatrical experience that it deserves. Either way, I loved this movie so much, and it's one that I highly recommend.
I know you too, Teddy.
It's fine, it's cool.
Bugonia is a 2025 black comedy sci-fi thriller. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, it's a loose English-language remake of the 2003 South Korean film Save the Green Planet, and stars Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and Aidan Delbus. Two conspiracy-obsessed young men kidnap the high-powered CEO of a major company, convinced that she is an alien intent on destroying the planet.
Where's my hair?
Your hair has been destroyed to prevent you from contacting your ship.
What ship?
Your mothership?
Okay.
This movie is so good. I think it probably is my favorite Yorgos Lanthimos movie because I really enjoyed Poor Things. I thought it was really cool. It's unique in a lot of ways. But this just is more entertaining to me, more enjoyable, more surprising. This movie takes some wild twisted turns. Definitely keeps you off balance, never quite knowing exactly what's going to happen next. And so it's just a lot of fun because you might have expectations going into this on what you think is going to happen. But even if you've seen the original South Korean film, this has changed considerably. They've definitely done some things to this to make it its own thing. But it has a really great look, style. The performances are absolutely brilliant in this, especially Jesse Plemons. Like, he transformed into this character that is not like anything I've ever seen him play before. It's really weird because all the characters in this, they're villains on one level and yet people you're rooting for and likable on the other hand. And I think that's such a well-written story and script when you have characters like that can have that dynamic. Because there isn't really anybody in this that you can just say, oh yeah, they're the good guy, I'm rooting for them. Because there's definitely things about both sides, so to speak, that, you know, have their issues. But yet, like I said, you like them. It also gets pretty bizarre and weird. It's very funny. Not necessarily in like gonna have you laughing your ass off, but in this dark humored kind of way that gives you a chuckle from time to time, but overall gives it this twisted, humorous vibe to the entire movie. But this becomes much more of a horror movie in the final act. The things that it does, the way it unpacks, and just the weird, bizarre things that happen. The ending of this movie is very much in that horror realm. So I just think this movie is a damn good time that's absolutely worth checking out.
She'll be back.
Beast of War is a 2025 Australian action horror movie, written and directed by Kaya Roche Turner. It stars Mark Cole-Smith, Joel Nankervis, and Sam Dellish. During World War II, a group of young soldiers, fresh out of boot camp, find themselves stranded on a raft in the middle of the ocean after their ship is sunk by the enemy, and they must battle for their lives against a giant, hungry, great white shark.
What the hell was that?
So I was fortunate enough to get to see this over the summer at Fantastic Fest, and it was one of the more fun, entertaining movies that I was able to see there. It is a very small kind of film, so you got to kind of understand the limitations going in, but they do such a good job with this, with what they're working with. The cast is incredible. It's really stylish, and the way that it's shot, the coloring, there's a lot of bright colors and just giving it this really artistic flavor about everything and the way it looks. They use a lot of bold, saturated colors that really give it this artistic flair. And it gets nasty and gory and pretty brutal as this shark basically is picking them off one by one from this wrecked ship. And from what I know, this is actually based on a true story. And so that gives it even more weight. But there is a light tone to this. Even though it's dark and it is twisted and emotional and all that at times, there is also a fun factor, just the way it's put together. It has this action, exciting feel to it, so it isn't a depressing movie or anything like that. But I really hope Mark Cole-Smith goes on to do more roles like this, more action, hero type of roles, because he is a badass in this. It's so much fun to watch. The other thing that's great about this is the shark. The only problem with the shark is that it leaves you wishing you saw a little more of the shark, and you only get glimpses of it here and there. You don't get a lot of shark footage. but I think most of that has to do with their budget limitations. They did use some practical effects when it comes to the shark, as blending it as well with some CG, but there's a lot of practical work done in this movie, and it shows. It gives it even more of a tangible feeling, like a real object that's attacking them. I think this is just a fun, entertaining movie. It's definitely not one to overthink or pick apart. It's just one to have a good time with. But if you're in the mood for a fun, action-packed horror movie, I think this is a great pick. Y2K is a 2024 apocalyptic comedy sci-fi horror movie. Co-written and directed by Kyle Mooney in his directorial debut, it stars Jaden Martell, Rachel Ziegler, and Julian Dennison. Two high school nobodies make the decision to crash the last major celebration before the new millennium on New Year's Eve 1999. But the night becomes even crazier than they could have ever imagined when the clock strikes midnight.
Dumbass. I use gel.
So off the jump, this is not a perfect movie by any means. It's got plot holes. The writing isn't all, perfect, anything like that. And it's definitely for a narrow audience. This is not a movie that's going to work for everyone. But I think if you're of my age, if you're anywhere between the age of 35 and 45, more, maybe a little younger than that, maybe a little older than that, but for the most part, in that age range, this movie will really work for you, because we grew up with AOL. We were so familiar with this world that's represented in this movie as young adults, late teenagers. So it really works. Like the nostalgia, the humor, the different characters in this, the different cameos, things like that really, really work if you're of that age, because I don't know if it'll work as much if you were a little bit older than that. And it definitely won't work if you're younger. A younger audience, I can't see really digging this movie, just because a lot of these jokes won't really land. A lot of the different nuance and things like that this movie does just won't make a lot of sense to you. But I think it's a blast. I mean, I had so much fun with this. I saw it in theaters back when it came out, and just the look of it, the style of it, the different characters involved, the appearance and role that Fred Durst plays in this is amazing. He is absolutely hilarious in this role. And when I got a chance to talk to him for a few minutes at Fantastic Fest, this was one of the movies he was talking about that he really enjoyed being involved with. But it is a stupid movie. It's definitely not one to overthink. It's very much that turn your brain off at the door and just have fun with. And if that's just not you, that's not the kind of thing that you're into, then maybe skip this one. But if that sounds like a good time, then absolutely give this one a look. Bone Lake is a 2024 erotic thriller directed by Mercedes Bryce Morgan. It stars Maddie Hassan, Andrea Nikita, and Alex Rowe. A couple's vacation at a secluded estate is upended when they're forced to share the mansion with a mysterious couple, and their dream getaway spirals into a nightmarish maze of sex, lies, and manipulation, triggering a battle for survival.
It was supposed to be just us, and now we're with strangers. She's pretty.
So is he. So are you.
I had so much fun with this movie. It is so entertaining. It feels like a movie that we've kind of lost. Like, it doesn't feel like anything that's made anymore. But back in the 90s, we had a lot of these trashy, kind of raunchy thrillers that were sleazy and a little bit dirty, but just really entertaining. A lot of the Sharon Stone movies, like Basic Instinct, movies from that era. And this feels like it's cut from that same cloth. But at the same time, this does modern things with it. Not to spoil it or anything, but like, it does go a lot harder when it comes to blood and violence and things like that. Like, especially in the final act, there's, all that stuff is kind of turned up much more than you would have seen in those raunchy 1990s thrillers. But more than anything, the tone of this feels like those movies. But I just found this to be really fun. It's a movie that doesn't take itself too serious at all. It is definitely well aware that it is a trashy, erotic thriller, and and really leans into that. But the cast is gorgeous, the location is amazing, beautiful. Everything about it is a really aesthetically gorgeous movie. My only kind of nitpick with it, my only warning to you, is you got to be a little patient with this movie. The first maybe 30 minutes or so as it's setting things up does move a little slow, and you're kind of waiting for things to get going and like, what is going on here? But it does ultimately really get going. So as long as you are patient, it is rewarded. I think this movie is a real gem and definitely worth adding to your list.
I guess I'm next. I should never have come here.
Good Boy is a 2025 supernatural horror movie, directed by Ben Leonberg and its featured directorial debut. It stars Indy, an 8-year-old Nova Scotia duck trolling retriever. A loyal dog moves with his owner to a rural family home, only to discover a supernatural force lurking in the shadows. And as dark entities threaten his human companion, the brave pup must protect the one he loves most. I have loved so much seeing this movie take off. It's been in theaters for weeks and weeks and weeks now, and that's amazing because this is a very, very tiny movie, next to no budget. It was in no way a movie that really should have even gotten to theaters, much less making money like it is. It is such a fun little story. And especially if you look into the behind the scenes on how they made this movie. This is made by a couple and their real dog. Like, this is their real pet that they raised and shot as the dog has grown, and they've trained him, and over the years they basically put this movie together as the dog grew. And it's such a cool concept and an amazing way to make something. But if you're a pet owner or pet lover, this movie is so good. This dog, you just can't help but falling in love with it. You want to hug it so bad. It's such a good boy. Besides that, it gets pretty damn creepy. Like, there's some moody, atmospheric, ghosty kind of elements in this that do a good job with the atmosphere and creep factor of really getting to you. I mean, it's really well done as far as that as well. But it is a small movie, a really experimental one, where there's almost no dialogue. You're just watching this entire movie through the perspective of the dog. It's not first person. It's not like you're seeing through the dog's eyes, so to speak. You're just seeing it like the dog is the lead actor in the movie, and everything around him is shot from his perspective. But that leads to some really creative shot selections. The fact that, like, you never get a clear look at any of the humans in the movie at their faces because it's a dog. He can't see all up close at their faces. So there's a lot of things like that were some really interesting choices that work really well. But if you're a fan of small indie horror as well as a pet lover, this is one you definitely need to see. Azrael is a 2024 action horror movie. Directed by E.L. Katz, it stars Samara Weaving, Victoria Carmen Sun, and Nathan Stewart Jarrett. Years after the rapture, in a world where no one speaks, a devout female-led community hunts down a young woman who has escaped imprisonment. Recaptured, Azrael is due to be sacrificed to an ancient evil in the wilderness, but fights back for her own survival. This is a cool little movie that came out last year, and then it's kind of been forgotten a little bit. When it first came out, there was a little bit of buzz, but now I don't hear anybody mention it. I think it's one that a lot more people might still really enjoy. And so when I saw that it was available on Hulu or Disney Plus, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to mention it this week because I think it's a lot better and more entertaining and interesting than you might be thinking just based off of the synopsis or maybe a trailer if you saw one. Because it takes some unexpected twists and turns, especially if you're not super familiar with biblical lore and the stories and stuff like that. But But I think even if you are, there's a lot of fun to be had with this. But the main reason to see it is Samara Weaving. She's amazing, and anytime you get to see her in something where she gets to be the lead role, it's one you definitely should watch. Because even though she doesn't speak in this, and nobody really does, she's still entertaining, charismatic. She just kicks a lot of ass in this movie. But yeah, this is not a game changer. It is a very small production kind of indie movie, but one that I think is very entertaining and definitely worth giving a look. Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities is a 2022 horror anthology series, directed by various filmmakers including David Pryor, Keith Thomas, Panos Cosmatos, Jennifer Kent, and others. It stars Andrew Lincoln, Rupert Grint, Crispin Glover, and more. Bizarre nightmares unfold in 8 tales of terror in a visually stunning, spine-tingling horror collection, curated by Guillermo del Toro.
Lot 36. And you curious?
Whatever is in there is mine now.
This is such a banger, and I figured since Guillermo del Toro has Frankenstein coming out, and I started off the video with that I would also mention this one, because it's been a while since it came out, and I'm sure there's still quite a few people out there that have not seen this. But if you're already on Netflix looking for something to watch, this is incredible. Each one of these is more like a movie because most of them are at least an hour long, and they don't feel like a series. Each one is standalone, does its own thing. None of them are tied together. It's just a collection that Guillermo del Toro put together of different filmmakers making these shorts. But like I said, they're much closer to feeling like movies. But it's cool because a lot of these filmmakers are the up and coming names in horror right now. But there's something for everyone. Every type of horror that you might be into, there will be probably one episode that you really enjoy. But in general, they're all really good, really well made. And I think if you've yet to see it, it's a definite must see. Jimmy and Stiggs is a 2024 comedy horror movie, written, directed, and starring Joe Begos. It also stars Matt Mercer. Lousy News sends an out-of-work filmmaker into a bender, during which he claims to have been abducted by aliens. Fearing their return, he contacts his old friend to help him gear up for battle. This movie is so wild. It's colorful, it's creative, it's interesting in every way. It's just badass because Joe Begos actually shot this whole movie in his actual apartment in LA. And it's amazing. If you watch some behind the scenes things about it, it's incredible to see how he pulled this off, because this is as DIY of a project as you're gonna find. He shot this over the span of multiple years, basically calling in favors from all his different friends to put this together. It isn't even a movie that really has a budget. It's more of he just made things as he went along and put this movie together little by little. But it's a blast. It's so entertaining. Yeah, it's dumb. Yeah, it's campy and over the top and silly. Like, that's exactly what it's trying to be. It's not at all meaning to be something to take serious. It's wacky, it's weird, it's gross. There's lots of fluids everywhere, alien blood. Like, it's fluorescent and colorful. There's tons of it that's done in blacklight with these bright colors everywhere. It's just a blast. It's one of those movies that if you enjoy that DIY aesthetic and that campy, gory, fun style of movies, then this is one of the best that's been done in a long time. Because it's definitely a labor of love, and in every way, it jumps off the screen. Like, you can really feel just how much this was a fun project, something though that they really cared about, and he really wanted to make something that was just enjoyable. But it's available streaming now, and so I did mention it back when it was first in theaters, but now that it's only a couple bucks to rent on VOD at home, hopefully more people will get a chance to see this, because it's like that little engine that could, you know, and I love to see movies like this at least make enough money that it makes it worth their while, because nobody's getting rich off of this. That's not at all what's happening here. But like I said, if you enjoy silly, over the top action, horror, sloppy sci-fi movies, this is one you absolutely should check out.
It consumes.
Ick is a 2024 sci-fi comedy horror movie. Directed by Joseph Kahn, it stars Brandon Routh, Melina Wiseman, and Mina Suvari. A science teacher's life changes when he reconnects with his first love and suspects that a new student is his daughter, all while facing an alien threat in their small town.
Okay, Grace. Let's talk about the ick.
So if there's any movie on this list that I think is the perfect recommendation for a weekend to just have fun, maybe have a couple drinks, maybe have some friends over, but a movie to relax and just have a fun time with, it's this one. This movie is incredible, and it's so sad that it's flying so under the radar. Like, nobody's talking about it. It was in theaters for a blink of an eye, like a lot of movies, unfortunately, but now it's streaming and it's only a few dollars to rent on VOD, and it's so worth it, especially if you're someone who grew up with the movies and the music of the early 2000s. This movie just absolutely slaps. Besides that, the cast is so much fun, the dialogue is well written, it's interesting in the way that the story unfolds, like the core story, their dialogue and all that, but it's really, really funny on top of that. But beyond all that, all the crazy, wild alien fun that happens in this movie is amazing. It's not like anything we've had in recent memory. It reminds me a lot of movies from this time period. Movies like The Faculty that have that alien, fun, over-the-top kind of nature. It has a lot of the same feel to it in that, but this is way more over the top than that. Tons of aliens, but just in general, it's super, super entertaining, and one that I think is a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember, guys, horror can be fun, and I'll see you all next time.